Welcome back to the Compound Podcast. This is episode 227, presented by Parse Rum. Our friends at Parse. When I say Parse, you say Rum Parse.
Rum.
Go to Binny's. Get your Parse. It's the perfect time of year. That fall chill is hitting the air up north. Perfect time to go to Binny's and get yourself a little 3-year pour it in with whatever you're gonna have
Apple
for
cider.
football. Apple cider. Apple cider.
I
Watch
think-
the Lions. The Lions played good ball, huh?
Oh, did they? Those unis, Zach, I respectfully have to disagree. I think the helmets were the perfect color. You said you wish the helmets were black. I think they were sick.
Because there was just so much black in it in the uniform. Like the blue kind of was just like, hey.
But I think that's what I liked about it, though. I was like,
I think
nice.
I always liked the old not even the old, like the all black Ravens uniforms.
Yeah.
And
that's how you know if you're a road team going in, you're like, we lost. Like, we are losing tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
the Bills had no chance the other night because
Never. Not in a million years.
Just a little I know ball Lions thing. The quarterback there, he went perfect, huh? Didn't throw an
18 for 18.
incompletion.
18 for 18 for 291.
Is that like throwing a no-hitter or something?
It's probably would you say it's easier? It's got to be easier than a no-hitter, right, Zach?
I mean, how was it happen once a year?
Yeah, it might be harder actually, because now that you say it, doesn't happen.
That
18 is not a ton
I don't
of
know
throws, but like,
I don't think
still.
I don't think it's hard. No, throwing a no hitter is harder, bro.
But I mean, but I'm saying you could like run a screenplay and stuff and like do it, but like it wasn't like all checkdowns. I don't know. I feel like it happens less often, but throwing a no hitter is a more difficult task. I would agree for sure.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that should have been I didn't watch the old sports or anything, but I thought that should have been more celebrated.
Did you see after the game, Dan Campbell didn't know he was 18 for 18 and he gave away 3. My favorite thing after every Lions win is going to their TikTok or Instagram and looking at their post game when Dan Campbell talks to the team. He gave out 3 game balls and none of them were to Jared Goff. And he's just like, oh man, I messed up there. He's like, what am I doing?
In another, the announcers were talking about it a little bit during the game. I'm pretty sure they were, he hasn't thrown an incompletion yet. And as a Lions fan, were you like, stop saying that? He's going to do that.
No, I had faith in him. Honestly, I just cared about winning. I was like, if he throws an incompletion, he throws one. Like, just please win.
Yeah, what? Game. Yeah.
This is a little bit different. I was watching the Bear Kittens this weekend. Lost on a last-second field goal. Tough. Or didn't make a last-second field goal to tie it. Tough.
I'll be honest. It took me a second to know who you were talking about when you said Bear
Cincinnati
Kittens.
Bearcats,
I was like, the Bears? I was like, they won.
Cincinnati Bearcats, a.k.a. the Bear Kittens. Their quarterback hadn't thrown an interception the first 4 games of the season, and the announcers really like to say he hasn't thrown an interception yet this year. And I was like, well, and then he
now he's done.
Pick. So it's like, well, we don't need to do that to him.
I am surprised how committed you are to watching Cincy. That I did not foresee you being like that invested in watching their football games.
I'm Cats.
You know what? We need them to get really good and get you on game day. Oh, that'd be so cool.
I did when they went to the Final Four. I did get to go and give a little pump up at the pep rally for the game.
I knew that, but I'm saying like national TV. You plug the pod. I don't know. Maybe get us some more viewers. I don't know. You didn't plug the pod with Mookie. I don't know.
I don't think he wanted to plug the pod. He wanted to plug the coffee.
He wanted to plug his own pod, of course. Game respect game, but a little tit for tat. Now he has to come on our pod. That's how it works.
That's how it works. He was on late night television last. He was on Kimmel, I think.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
That's wild.
Wow.
I like that.
Dakota, you brought do you want to call them touching points or bits this week?
We'll stick with touching points. I like touching points.
Okay.
Let's start with the possible Kyle Hendricks last game as a Cub. Have rewatched that video multiple times of how to be taking him out, everybody giving him hugs. Pretty sick. Pretty cool moment for someone that career's not over, but like someone that meant a lot to the Cubs organization over his time, like part of the World Series, obviously, and like just a 10 out of 10 human being. as we all know. Pretty cool to see him like get his flowers and possibly his last game pitching at Wrigley and to shove too.
I read something that what did you do post game for him? If you want to explain something in the locker room, what you did. I don't know if that was supposed to get out or not, or if it was supposed to be intimate, but
it's on Twitter. So
that's where I saw it.
I've seen it on Twitter. Yeah.
At the end of the year, Dansby is the thing where he goes around and hits accomplishments for every player. You know, big things that happened for that guy that year. I think he got it from somebody that he played with previous. And so, you know, I wanted to do something for Kyle. I wanted to make sure that Kyle got recognized for his contribution to the organization, and that not only for him, but for the young guys to say, like, you got to play with a Cubs legend. Like, I hope you understand how amazing he's been throughout his career and what he's meant to this franchise. And so I wanted to do that. And so I got some career, just some highlights where he's at all-time Cubs numbers. And there was some other stuff in there that was just, I'll tell you one that I'm not going to get perfectly right, but it's something like between 2015 and 2017, he had it was either 42 or 48, somewhere in that range, consecutive starts with 4 or fewer runs. Consecutive.
That's
over the course
disturbing.
of 3 seasons. It's like,
that's very hard to do.
And then he had a streak in there too of like somewhere between 20 and 40. That's a big range, but it was an absurd amount of starts with less than 2 walks over like a 3-year stretch. I mean, ERA leader in 2016 with like a 2.1. Game 6 of the NLDS against Kershaw went 7 1/3 scoreless and like 2 hits, no walks. Obviously, Game 7 of the World Series, he threw like 4 1/3 in Game 4, I think, of the World Series. Like, dude, his career, you just look at the numbers, like the consistency. He made 30 starts like 5 or 6 times over that 10, 11 years. It was this first year he couldn't have, but like over the next 10, he made 30 starts like 6 times. It's just like the consistency, man. Like, it was a joke. And like the way that he prepares and like the way that he goes about his business, the way that he throws a bullpen, the way that he prepares for a bullpen, the way that he competes, like all that stuff is an amazing lesson to guys of like, this is what it looks like to be a pro's pro. And he was never, you know, we've talked about this. He was never the guy with the wipeout stuff that was like, yeah, he's a freak. No. He learned how to be an incredible pitcher, to use what he was given, and like his work ethic and his mental like ability is what made him dominant.
I remember like my first big league spring, he was who I was most excited to watch throw a bullpen, because I was like, I just got to see how this guy goes about it, because it's got to be like a masterclass. And it was like not even a full intent bullpen, but it's like he does not miss spots, even in bullpens. Like, he doesn't just go out there and like get his work in. He's like, I'm going to execute every single pitch I throw, and then he goes and does it. It's very fun to watch.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, how, like, just the type of person too. I never hung out with him or wasn't really a teammate of his. A few spring trainings, but anytime that I saw him over the years, like, he always stopped and said hi, always asked how everything was. Seemed genuinely interested in a conversation, and like just things like that. Obviously it doesn't take a lot, but for him to just to continuously do it no matter what. Again, wasn't his teammate. I was a teammate in spring training of his for 2 or 3 weeks max. Like, I just always rooted for him. It was awesome to see the credit and just the support shown for him over the years, and especially to have it happen, the other day was pretty cool.
It's like you said, Zack.
The way it went down the other day was crazy too.
Yeah, and what he throw 8 1/3 or something like that?
7 1/3
or 7 1/3.
It's like you said, Zack. We weren't like best friends with him, but like we knew him through like Duncan Robinson and him. One of our close friends both played at Dartmouth, so like we kind of had the connection that way. But it's like you said, like I'd see him every spring training, be like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And I'm like, "You remember me?" I was like, "We don't really know each other that well." The other story I have is in COVID in 2020, when we would go throw sometimes like outdoors, he was like part of the group that would throw, and he was just like very welcoming to have me like go throw with him. And I was like, sick. Like, you didn't have to do that. Like, really just genuine human being. And it's always just funny to see like when he gets that praise, like he did in his last game, he's just so like humble and like doesn't want all that, where he's like, I don't really know what to do with my hands right now. And it's just so good. It's so like perfect Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah, there's been some really big names that he's thrown with too. And if you look at over the course of 11 years, like not only the guys he shared a staff with, but just the guys that have come to the Cubs organization in that time and being a part of winning, being a part of the best run in franchise history, all of that stuff. He was right at the center of it, and he deserves to be celebrated. He'll be a Cubs Hall of Famer. He'll be a guy that whenever he wants to come back, come back. He'll be the Legends video on the scoreboard. Like, and when you get to play with those guys, like it's special. And like to celebrate that and to make it known that like, hey man, like this was an unbelievable ride to watch. And the human element of it too, which I tried to impart a little bit, is like, we played together for 8 seasons. I don't know if I'll play with a guy longer than that. That's a special
crazy.
That's a special thing. And like my first year, that off season, he invited me to his wedding. He invited the whole team because he's Kyle Hendricks. He's the nicest guy ever. But like I saw him get married. I saw him become a dad. Like, you see all of those things, and like the human element of playing with a guy for 8 years is like super special, and you try every day not to take that for granted. It's really easy when you just show up to the park and that guy's there. But when I was giving some interviews those last couple of days and like looking over at his locker, and I was telling Julie this kind of after, it's like, man, I every time I looked up, he was right there. His locker's directly across from mine, his nameplate, his leadership and experience, like it was always there. And that's one of the things just, that makes you think and get you emotional about like playing with a guy for that long.
He's really like the last of his breed too, of like soft tossers,
I was gonna
like,
say, I think it's
I don't
even
mean that as
more
like an
impressive
insult.
because he doesn't throw 100. It's just like,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna finesse you till you're out.
He's a guy that like again, unbelievable player. He's someone that like in today's game, like probably would never have a chance at making the big leagues because they'd be like, oh, you don't throw hard enough. Like, we don't care that you can hit every single corner of the zone, like for 4 pitches. Like, don't care. I need you to throw harder. So he's kind of like the last of his breed in that like he still gets outs and can dominate guys throwing 86 to 88. And it's very fun to watch him pitch.
Fun to
baseball.
watch. That's exactly right.
Tom?
I was going to ask you, Ian, you're in this interesting spot now where obviously you weren't on the 16 team, but you're now kind of one of the most tenured guys, and you're almost like the guardian of that era, I guess you'd say. Like you weren't directly part of it, but you played with every single one of those guys that was a part of the 16 team. You kind of have the DNA from that. How do you view your role as like trying to pass that down to the other guys that weren't there during that time of being like, hey, I know I wasn't there, but I was around these guys and I saw what it took. And like, we have to reach that level to be what we want to be if we're going to be the Cubs.
Yeah, I think everybody brings their own unique experience from like what it takes to win to get to the playoffs, to win in the playoffs, to win World Series. Like we have guys who have done that. We have guys who have played in the playoffs. We have guys who have won World Series. But the thing that I try to impart on guys is how special it is to do it in Chicago. And that was my experience with that group from 16, was going to dinner, going to play golf, being in the city, and having people come up and thank them. Like genuinely, it wasn't like that was awesome. It was like, thank you. Like my grandfather had been waiting, for so long, or, I cried, all this stuff of like, it wasn't, that was so cool. It was, thank you so much for what you did. And the parade was top 10 gathering in human history. Like the stuff like that, that's like, if you win in this city, how special it is, the energy, the fan base. And then we went to the NLCS in 17, and I got to piggyback on that and see what that's like. And so just trying to say like, hey man, like winning anywhere is cool. Like winning here it's different. And like, that should be, enough motivation to give that to the fans.
That leads me to touching point number 2.
Nice job.
Ian Happ buys some brewskis for the fellas out in the left field crew for being such a good fan base out there. Throws a ball up there with a couple hundred strapped to it. Zach, we got a 30-second. What do you got? This is like not cutting it, but this is like
No,
let you
no,
talk.
this
Okay,
is in.
Okay.
Where'd you come up with this? I know you're a smart guy.
So I did this last year, and it didn't get the same pump that this got.
So you do it for the publicity. So you do it for the publicity is what we're hearing. That's crazy.
No. He did this last year, but can I ask you last year, was it only $100
It
last
was
year?
100 last year. It was 200.
I think that was the issue. I think
that
last year the
extension
problem
kicked
was
in.
I saw Ian do it last year and I said, $100 is nice,
That's
but I
10
think
beers.
he's not familiar with the economic realities of buying beer at Wrigley Field because that's not going as far as you think it would. I think it was the $300 that made the difference this year.
Yeah, I did it last year. It was so the outfield bleachers, the left field bleachers will give me a ball at the end of the year. And so they all sign a ball and give it to me.
Are they there every game? I know the
Dude,
Bleacher Jeff
there's
is.
a group of people and a significant group of people that are there every game. And the crazy part about the bleachers is there's no assigned seats. So
It's just
you
like
get a
Gen
bleach,
Pop,
you
like
get
you
a,
can
you
sit
get a,
anywhere.
yeah, you get a bleacher ticket. You can sit anywhere.
Really?
So they have their seats where like it is their seat because they're there every day and but like there's been a time when like a random fan that is there on vacation has sat in Jeff's seat. And like that can happen at any given day. So they all have their seats and their spots. And it's when you meet these people who are just awesome and love the Cubs, like they'll say, like, hey, I sit in the left field bleachers. I'm 5 rows up, on the back fence, right over this certain sign. But it's like that's not an assigned seat. It's just where they go every day.
Yeah.
And so it's a big group. They've had like at the end of the year they have like a potluck in the bleachers. The Cubs still let them do that. It's like a tradition. They'll do like a get together or something right outside on Waveland one of the last days too. It's cool. And so the last couple of years they've signed a ball to me. I think that was kind of where the idea came from. It was Danny Mueller was definitely a big part of being the brainchild to that. But it was cool last year, and obviously it got some more pump this year. But just showing the appreciation for them, and I think I said this last year too. Like the way that those fans embraced me in 21 when I was going through the middle of a really, really bad season when everybody got traded. Like it would have been very easy to wear me out as like a guy that was still there after everybody got traded and we were struggling and I was struggling. But they didn't do that. They lifted me up and helped me through that. And I was able to have a really good second half and finish strong and parlay that into a good year in 22. And, they're definitely a part of that.
Which the good fans leads me to my next touching point. Wow, look at me go. I've gotten mail the past couple weeks from a couple fans. I got a couple nice letters just saying how much they love the pod, all that
How'd they
good
find your
stuff.
address?
I think they just found the drive-line address because they know I work here and it comes to my work. And our founder brought it to me one day, and I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I didn't mail that here. Like, I don't know why that's here." But one fan sent us. It goes back to our Crocs discussion. I have them right here. For those watching, they sent me a bunch of mini Crocs that go on top of Croc shoes, and they said I have to disperse them amongst us for.
So those are Crocs that go on Crocs.
They go like you know how on
they
Crocs
go
they have
like
the
in
holes,
the
you can like hook them in. Yeah, these are mini Crocs that go in the Croc.
I think Danny Mueller would love that.
There's 4 of them. There's yellow, blue, green, and black. And I want to say thank you to the fans. They've been sending me some mail.
Danny was helping me pack up yesterday at Wrigley. Nice, Zach. Zach's got his Crocs.
These are frocks. These are fake ones. I got these before when I was in AAA last year. Before a road trip, we golfed in the morning, and I realized I didn't have my shower shoes because they got packed. So I stopped at like Walmart and got them for like $10, whatever they were. Great shower shoes.
That was our good shower shoes.
Danny was helping me pack yesterday, and he was rocking Crocs the whole time.
Teddy Payne always used to wear Crocs in the shower, I believe. He's like, yeah, they're the best. It's like I can put them in sport mode if I have to. Like it works. Next thing I got before we get into playoff baseball we forgot to talk about this last week. Rowdy Tellez. And then on Sunday, Kiner Falefa, which there are reports that, like he said, give the at-bats to younger guys. I don't know if that's true. But for the whole story, Rowdy Tellez, 4 at-bats shy of a $200,000 bonus in his contract and incentive, DFA'd. Isaiah Kiner Falefa, 4 at-bats shy of $250,000 bonus, didn't play in the last game, was on the bench. Reports were that he said that he wanted to give at-bats to younger guys, didn't want to take those away from them. Could be true, but with the Rowdy Tellez thing happening before that, I have a hard time believing that. Not a great look. Not a great look to, and I looked up Rowdy Tellez's season just to see like how he was doing, and like he wasn't setting the world on fire, but he was not having a year to me that justified like DFAing him at that exact moment right before he's about to get this bonus.
With like a week left.
Yeah, it's like, what does this really do for you to DFA him right now instead of just being like, hey man, you're great for us this year, you're a good guy.
Here's my question. How are teams so bad at this? How do you not cut, if you're going to cut Rowdy Tellez, if you determined we're going to cut Rowdy Tellez before he gets to 425 at bats, right? They must have made that determination. You're hoping they didn't wake up that morning and look at the contract and go, oh blank, we need to cut Rowdy Tellez, right? You're hoping that a professional baseball franchise has a front office that is competent enough to know that they're doing this. My question is, how are they so incompetent that they do it the day before? Like, do it a week before, cut him 30 at bats before. At least you have like, okay, it's kind of obvious. It's still kind of obvious, but hey, at least there's some plausible deniability. You do it 4 at bats before. How do you talk to a free agent? How do you try to get a free agent to come and say, no, we're going to put these incentives in your contract. We're the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to give you an incentive-laden contract. Don't look up how they've worked out for other guys. Just trust us. We'll pay you 100%. Trust us. Like, what are we doing? You're the Pittsburgh Pirates. Wake up. I was embarrassed for that.
Tom loves to get fired up. You do make a good point. It's like, hey, we've been eliminated from the playoffs for 3 weeks. Like, just do it when you get eliminated and then play your young guys. Like, hey, if you don't want to pay this money, like, do it when there's 30 at bats left and there's probably no conversation about it, like you said.
Yeah, if they would have done it September 1st, it wouldn't have made news. But it is, the ramifications are hard. Like the ramifications of like, how do they sign a guy going into next year on an incentive-based deal? Like, I don't see a world in which somebody signs an incentive-based deal with them moving forward. Like if you can't trust them, like obviously some other teams have done similar things where they'll DFA a guy or a guy gets picked up on waivers because they don't want, if he has an option or if he has some back end incentives that they don't want to pick up. But like that one is just like bad. It's like, yeah. And like if you're Kalefa, like how are you not like, no. Those are
like I need to play.
No. Those are my at bats.
Yeah, like I've been great, and he was great for them too.
Major league at bats to get $250,000. I wouldn't care if they would be like, you get no equipment, you don't get an at bat, you just have to stand up there. I would be taking those 4 at bats. So it's such a bad look for the Pirates, and it's just classic Pirates is the problem.
Ian, how are like incentive based ones usually? Like I saw the Rowdy Tellez, like the whole layout of it. I felt like it was weird that his $250K for like the number of at bats, but then there was in there like, hey, World Series MVP, you get $50,000. I'm like, I feel like that should get paid
that's
more.
That's just standard language.
That's in everything.
That's so weird to me. I'm like, this is a way bigger accomplishment.
I think I might have that bonus in my contract. It's
just I had it in like batting
like
glove
standard
deals.
I had that when I had a Wilson glove deal. It was like, if you get a Cy Young, you get like $10,000. I was like, thanks. If I get a Cy Young, I don't think I'm worried about $10,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. They'll have like, you'll be paying a guy, $5 million or $10 million or whatever, and then it's like, if you win the MVP, you get like a $50,000 bonus. It's like, how that guy like,
yeah.
If you win the MVP, you should get like just double the money. It's like you deserve all of it. What do you mean? It's a very funny structure that way.
My issue with the Kiner Falefa one too is like how they say like, oh, he said play the younger guys. If I'm on his team, and I believe you two would agree with me, if I'm like Brian Reynolds played in their final game, and I'd be like, if I'm Brian Reynolds, I'm like, hey, Isaiah, like you're playing. Like I want you to get this money. Like I have no reason to play. Yeah, he DH'd. Reynolds DH. I'm like, go DH for me. Like, you're getting this money. That's why I found it hard to believe that he's like, nah, like, I'm good. I don't need $250,000. Thanks, though. Like, no way.
After 162 games, it's finally time for some October baseball. Get in on all the playoff action at DraftKings Sportsbook. From same-game parlays to live betting to odds boosts and so much more, DraftKings has you covered until a champion is crowned. Right now, all new customers who bet just $5 will instantly get $200 in bonus bets, and that's when you use the promo code COMPOUND. Stay into the action and use your $200 in bonus bets to bet anytime homers on DraftKings. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code COMPOUND and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code COMPOUND only at the DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/base.
Before we move on to my next touching point, we have lost Ian. He has moved down to his house in Austin. He was supposed to have Wi-Fi today. He does not have Wi-Fi. Was attempting to go on a hotspot. Midway through this podcast, I asked him a question to which Wi-Fi wasn't going great. Hotspot wasn't working out. So we're going to soldier on. We're going to make it work just the way it should be. Just us three. That's all we need. We don't need Ian. Who cares? Yep. People come here to listen to us, not Ian.
Good point.
I'm going to ask this question just to Zach. Would have been a great question to have Ian for.
The switch hitter would have been good for this question, it feels like. But,
it would have been nice.
He gave half an answer. His answer basically was that, it would be hard to, you'll ask the question, but it would be hard to do what Ozzie Albies is doing.
Yeah. Ozzie Albies hurt his wrist, got hit by a pitch, I believe, Zach?
No,
midway through.
On a tag at second base.
On a tag, hurt his left wrist, obviously,
yes.
Then.
Yep.
Has since been hitting just right-handed because it doesn't bother his wrist as much. Hits that big double against Edwin Diaz against the Mets. I'm curious what you think of how difficult it would be to just all of a sudden be like right on right, seeing completely different shaped pitches.
That's the thing. Like, he doesn't see pitches that are coming into him. Like,
no,
how King is throwing a nasty sinker. Like, he's not used to going complete opposite like that. And he came down our last series in Gwinnett. We were in Jacksonville. He rehabbed for 2 games. First AB, first swing right on right. Or just first swing in general in however many months. Righty, knock, ends up homering 2. And it's just like, he's
just different.
Yeah. And then, for him to hit a homer right on right yesterday in the biggest game of the year, and then hits a double in the biggest spot in the game too, off of one of, if not the best closer, like in baseball, probably top 3. Like, I don't know how he does it. And just his style is so unique. He is literally on the plate. His toe is past the other line. And again, it's a completely different game. You usually have the upper hand every single time he hits, and now he feels like one of us, but he doesn't look like one of us.
Especially the pitch he hit against Diaz was like 98 in on his hands, and he gets the barrel to the ball. And it's like, how do you just do that? Like, you haven't faced a righty in years.
4 years, I think he said it was.
That's
when we were talking to him, bro. He's great, bro.
Didn't you say he's a beauty too? Like, just great dude.
He's the best. He truly the same guy every single day, even when he got hurt. He has a bunch of these foundations. He's huge. He loves animals. He loves dogs. Like, he has an aquarium basically at his house that he takes care of. That's like, whenever he's on his phone, either FaceTiming his family or looking at his tanks in his house to make sure that the water levels are okay. I swear to God, it's insane. He has all these
crazy.
apps. He'll just sit down and be like, "Shorty, look at this." I'm like, Ozzie, bro, how do you do this? And how do you hit right on right after not hitting right on right your whole life?
Yeah, that's wild.
Can we? Can I add a touching point? Can we talk about
Of
the Zach Short
course.
Bowl yesterday? Can we talk about
No,
the Mets versus the Braves? One of the weirdest double headers we've ever seen, where the Diamondbacks were rooting for somebody to sweep,
Yeah.
and the Mets win that game in dramatic fashion. And Francisco Lindor, talk about Edwin Diaz. Francisco Lindor saved Edwin Diaz. I don't know if you guys saw this. There was a ball in the eighth inning when after the Mets scored 6 in the top half. Diaz comes in, gives up 4 in the bottom half. And there was a play where it was a ground ball to first. It was going to be a close play at first. Diaz just didn't cover the bag. The Ozzie Albies double follows. They take the lead. And you could see when he slammed his glove after he got the last out in the ninth, how much that meant to him. And I think how much he knew Lindor saved him. Because as someone who spent a lot of time in New York, the WFAN phone lines would have been set ablaze if the Mets had lost that game. Every uncle from Long Island was ready to start screaming at Edwin Diaz on the telephone. And it didn't matter because Francisco Lindor, one of the best players in baseball, did what he does best.
it's hard. Again, I was there to start the year this year, and he did not get off to a good start at all. And truly the same guy every day. The way that he said hi, the way that he carried himself. And, obviously people are going to say like, "Oh yeah, I would do the same thing if I was making that money." But it's like, it's a little different. He has supposed to have the team on his back. He's playing 162 games up until, he got hurt this year. And I think for him to turn around and have, again, it's not this season, not turning around. He had a bad, month and a half. Like, for him to bounce back like that, when you hear the boos, you hear it all, and you could tell how much just was off of his back after that swing. Like, he's usually a pretty, fiery guy, big hit, and he hit it, and he didn't do anything. I think it was just like and that was cool to watch. Again, I'm just playing with him for a little bit this year. It shows how much he cares, how much prep he does before and after games, even in spring training. How much he's in there with the strength and the strength coaches and the trainers, like how much of a strict process and program he is on to go out there every single day for his team and hit first, second, or third and play shortstop for the Mets.
I think a huge part, and you said it for both him and Albies, that goes like underrated around baseball is being the same guy every day.
Oh, man.
Like 4 for 4, 0 for 4, doesn't matter. He comes in with the same attitude. Like no one likes the guy that pouts after 0 for 4, and no one likes the over chippy guy. Like, oh, I wonder who had a good game yesterday. Like if you're the same guy day in, day out, especially as like a leader in the clubhouse, like Lindor is, that goes such a long way for like someone like yourself, like a younger guy, like that isn't in there every day, like seeing him do
100%.
it, you're like, why can't I? Like I should be doing that too.
Absolutely. And again, just hearing the noise, whether you wanted to look for it or not, he was getting it. You would hear guys saying whatever his paycheck is, like, "Oh, whatever, $1 million for you to do that." And I understand, it's the fan, it's any sport you're going to go with. That's where you're going to hear it. But like, it was a dark time, man. Again, it was only a month and you have 5 months left of baseball, but they were playing some ball, man. It's fun to watch. Again, just living in New York, Connecticut area, like you see it, you see the people rocking the hats, you see them rocking the Yankees hats. It's on in New York, Tom.
I think it was cool to see. The thing I noticed is how much he cared. As you said, Zach, it did feel like a weight was lifted off his shoulders. And I think the really cool part about Mets fans, because I as a Yankee fan, I don't think we're quite the same way as Mets fans. Mets fans, in part because of their lack of history, are very appreciative of moments like that. Like you saw across the board yesterday, he was getting a lot of praise. And I think that a moment like that changes how a fan base might view a player. Not that obviously like Lindor has been posting and Lindor's Lindor, but as you said, there's always the people out there that are going to point to the contract and say, "What have you done?" There's no bigger moment than season on the line, have to win this game to make the playoffs. Here's a 2-run homer to put the team back in front after your all-star closer, after your all-world closer gives it up in the previous half inning. And as I said, like, to me as well, just picking up your teammate, like how much that meant for Diaz as well. Because like, obviously, I mean, Dakota, I'm sure you're a relief pitcher, you can attest to this. Like, Diaz looked mortified when he didn't cover first. Like, obviously, it was just moment got to him, mistake happens. And then, like, to give up the double right after that and to have it be in that situation when you need the game and then have Francisco Lindor be Francisco Lindor, it's why you signed him. You know, it's why you have him. It's why you have those guys in your team that you go, everything else can go wrong, but if we have Francisco Lindor, we got a shot.
I had a moment in AAA one year where there was a guy on third and I threw a ball to the backstop and I didn't cover home. And I was like, I hate myself. Like, I was like embarrassed. I was like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. I was like, why did I not cover home? I was like, I don't know why I didn't do that.
The mental errors outweigh the physical errors
I still think about it. Like I said, I was like, I still remember that. I was like, that was 100%. The worst. I went and like apologized to our manager. I was like, that's not me. Like, I can't believe that happened. I'm sorry. The other person I want to give a shout out to from that doubleheader, Grant Holmes.
Oh man.
Throws Sunday in relief, 1 2/3. Monday happens. They lose that first game. Chris Sale slated for game 2, out with back spasms. They say, hey, Grant Holmes, you're in there, buddy. Go get him. Just threw yesterday, 1 2/3. Goes out there and goes 4 innings, perfect, 7 Ks. Goes into the 5th, obviously a little worn down by then, back to back. Still, though, like 4 innings, no runs, 7 Ks. Like, that's a gutsy effort to get your team to the postseason.
Found out 30 minutes before that he was starting as well. And he has a crazy story too. I don't know if you've seen it at all. He was a first rounder, I think, from the Dodgers, was released kind of just, I don't think he was out of baseball, but debuted this year when 30 years old, like went through it. Obviously, it was a first rounder and everything, but it was not a straight line journey. I'm not sure his baseball reference page, but
I'm pulling it up. Again,
I'm sure there's some dark times in his life and his baseball career for him to come out yesterday and even just all year what he's done. He has been such a kind of, steady piece of consistency, a few outliers obviously, but for, again, Dakota, to come back after you threw basically 2 innings the day before and then throw 4 in the biggest game of your life is something that, I mean, your teammates and everybody rooting for you will love you for a very long time because of that.
Yeah. That's one, like in the clubhouse, like as a position player, like when you see guys like that, you're like, man, I'll play behind this guy any day of the week.
100%.
That's like you said, it was a great matchup. I'm happy to see both those teams in. You know what that does? That takes us into our next touching point. I'm on a roll. This next touching point is brought to us by Bruce Bolt. Bolt, the batting gloves Ian wears, the batting gloves Zack wears. They got arm sleeves.
Interesting choice to have you do the Bruce Bolt ad. And
what do you mean? This is great. This is great. This is great.
They got arm sleeves. They got, what else they got, Zack? Tell the people what they got.
They got shorts. They
got shirts. I think
they got shirts.
They got shirts.
Yeah. They got it all.
BruceBolt.us. BruceBolt.us. Ian's notes for Bruce Bolt was to say BruceBolt.us. BruceBolt.us. Leading to our next point brought to you by Bruce Bolt. Will Vest is another person you said is like one of those guys, like, I'll play behind that guy any day.
Did you watch him today? I didn't watch it today.
Yeah.
I was listening. Dude.
That
guy too. I think we talked about him. He was Rule 5 by the Mariners, returned in 21. He is something what I like to call an FU heater, where it's just like, whatever fastball I have today, I'm coming at you with it, and it's going to be as much behind it, whatever I have in the tank, that's what you're going to get. And, I mean, he was freezing guys from what I was hearing. Like, I mean.
Painting the corners.
And he's.
With 98 plus.
He's just a guy, like, I think he's going into ARB this year. Not a huge name, but, again, these playoff teams, like, even Bo Brisky in the 9th inning tonight for the Tigers. Foles, obviously. Foles is a bigger name now. But, Bo Brisky was a late-round pick out of, I want to say, JUCO, throwing 100, just like with confidence and conviction behind it. And that's a team, you don't really want to run into if you're not scoring. And again, you have Skubal on the mound in game 1. Like,
I have 2 things about that Tigers game. We'll do like a full playoff prediction, but that Tigers game today, I'm assuming you watch. A lot of friends on that team.
Yep.
I would have liked to see Scooble go back out for the 7th. Personally, that's my
I think he
personal
was.
choice.
I think he was
at 88.
cramping. I think he was
Oh,
cramping.
okay. Fair. But their bullpen is just fun to watch because, like you said, like those three names, Bo Brisky, Will Vest, Jason Foley, probably a bigger name now, but like your average baseball fan probably has never heard those names. That's
How
no
about-
knock on those
hey,
guys. It's just like they're very good, but people like it's not your home name of like Emmanuel Clase. Like everyone knows him. Like,
Here,
you know,
I'll
just
get
a
you.
bunch
I'll
of
get you
dudes
somebody
doing
who
it.
a lot of people don't know. A
Jackson Jobe.
nope. Oh no, Tyler Holton.
Tyler, why'd you have to look it up? You don't know his
No,
name?
I'm looking up. No, I'm looking up
Oh.
his stats.
I thought you had to look up his name. I was like, you don't
Tyler
know?
Holton. He was I want to say a waiver pickup last offseason. He has pitched 52 and 2/3 innings in the last 3 months and has allowed a total of 4 earned runs.
That's insane. And they're
Lefty, I think he's opening tomorrow, and he is somebody too. He'll close games, he'll open games, he'll throw in the biggest spot. It's okay. Here we go. Tyler Holton over the last 2 years, 178.2 innings pitched, 2.17 ERA, 0.82 WHIP.
and the best part about that Tigers bullpen is like Tyler Holton's opening tomorrow. He could close a game. Like Foley's their closer, and he's our guy, and he's very good at being the closer. But the thing is, they are comfortable with 5 different guys to close the game. Like Bo Brisky closed a game last week in a must-win game. Like they'll put not anyone, but like 4 or 5 different guys in there, and they're like, he can do it. Like we have total faith that he can close this game. And that's a dangerous team of like, like for example, game 1 of the Mets Braves yesterday, like not a knock on Pierce Johnson, but they threw Iglesias in like the 7th and he gave it up, and then they go to close the game and it's not your closer. You end up giving up the lead.
He threw in the 8th because they were going to go 6 outs. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but that's my point. Of
They
had to go to someone not their closer with the lead, and it's like, now what do we do? Like the Tigers are comfortable with multiple guys closing a game.
It's crazy. It's how do you prepare for? It's like, all right, they're going to use everybody, but won't really know when.
Yeah, exactly. Who's following Holton tomorrow?
I think Reese Olson.
Reese Olson. Who's game
Also
3
nasty.
for them?
No clue.
Probably just like the kitchen sink. They're going to say, where's our guys? Like, who can throw? Scooble's probably due for a bullpen that day. You can get him out there.
Dakota,
Yeah.
It feels this way to me as a fan, but I don't know if this is just like me reading too much into it. Is it different to close a game? Like, is it different for you when you take the mound, like knowing it's the 9th inning and you got to get the last 3 outs compared to if it's the 7th inning, even if it's like similar game situation, similar intensity, it just seems like it is different closing out games than it is just doing something else.
I don't know what it is, but yes, like the 8th inning, even like 8th inning, 1-run ball game. Obviously, you still get that adrenaline rush, but it's just different in the 9th inning of like, if I get these 3 outs, we win the game. If I don't, we might lose the game. Like, obviously, that's every inning. It could really be any inning, but like something about that closer role, like I've closed quite a few games in my life. It's the coolest feeling in the world, though. Like, if you get a strikeout to save the game, like you feel like I'm the man. Like it is electric closing games. It's the favorite thing I ever did when I played was closing games. And it is, like I said, it's just different. Like just that added pressure, just that little bit, like gives you that huge adrenaline rush.
Do you have a favorite save from your career? Do you have one that stands out when you look back now?
I have a favorite win that wasn't a save, and it goes back to college.
I kind of figured it was probably going to be Michigan State.
Just where you threw like 12 innings.
I came in against Maryland at home in the 7th inning of a tie ball game. I threw the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the 9th inning, the 10th inning, the 11th inning, the 12th inning. I threw 6 innings. I was at 90 pitches. There was 2 outs in the bottom of the 12th or bottom of the 13th. And I was in the dugout, like I was going back out. Like I was at 90 pitches and I was like, I don't care. Like I was never coming out of the game, and the coach did not try to take me out of the game. Luckily, we walked it off that inning. I was like, good. I didn't have much left, but I was going to keep trying. But that was probably like the coolest one for me of like out of the bullpen to throw like 6 innings, no runs. I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, I would imagine you would. That's pretty nasty.
My favorite Pro Bowl outing probably wasn't. It definitely was not a save. It was actually against the Toledo Mud Hens.
When you hit me?
No, when you flew
Punch
out.
me?
You were the first batter I faced. I struck out like Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter. I struck out like 4 in 2 innings, and I was fired up after that one because I got Carpenter on a changeup, and at that time he was, and he still is, Barry Bonds. I was
Barry
like, this
Bonds.
is the best hitter on the planet, and I got him. That was probably my favorite one from Pro Bowl. Zachary, looking ahead to the playoffs, tell me who you're interested in watching. What matchups intrigue you?
Yeah, it's an interesting playoffs just from being fired from 2 of the teams that are in it now. You know, like
you were rehired by one of them, kind of at a lower position.
But fired.
You were in the penthouse, and they said, you know what, we want you to work the door. All right.
Yeah, I was fired. But like again, you know them, you know the guys.
Yeah.
I'm again, like I say, kind of loosely paying attention. Same thing with the Tigers. That one
loosely paying attention as you're looking at the screen while saying
it's on
this.
mute. Like, I mean, I don't know what's going on.
It's on mute. We're doing a podcast. I would hope it's on mute.
That's what I'm saying. I'm reiterating it. I'm reiterating it.
You're hilarious. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, like again, even
mute.
The Tigers was kind of a little not weird because I'm like so happy for a bunch of those guys. Just knowing them, playing with them, going through it with them. But you feel like you were a part. Like again, I watched Torque hit 30 homers. I watched Carr tear it up. I watched Vierling play there for the first time. Like again, I can go on forever, but it's just watching them kind of do it without you is a little bit different for the first time. But I'm going to pay attention a little bit, think a little bit less than I have in the past. But I mean, again, I watched Scooble shove it today, and I want to watch my friends do well.
I completely 100% get that. I think I agree with you. I think you're still very invested in the Tigers. I think you're rooting for the Tigers still pretty hard. Like if you had a team where like if it's like you were going to watch one game, I think you're watching the Tigers right now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, one of my best friends is
exactly
the closer of that team. But Will Vest is another great friend of mine. Like it's hard not to like again, I was watching today, like Foles was one of my brother. Like I was like, all right, come on, like screaming at the TV if it was a close pitch or whatever, and like I've never really had that unless my brothers were playing.
And that's what I was the same way, like not like your season's over, your career's not over, but like when I stopped playing, I didn't really enjoy watching baseball very much for a little bit, but I still would get excited to watch you, Scott, Ian, like Steele, like our close friends. Like you still love to see your friends succeed no matter what.
Exactly. And again, that team is so young, spent a lot of time with them. It's, that young and naive team where it's like, you want to watch them kind of go through it, like not in the moment's not too big for them. And they show again, it was one game, but on the road and showing that is pretty cool.
Sick, especially at Houston.
Yeah.
All right.
Who do you got?
I need who I'm interested to see. I like this Orioles-Royals series is fun to me. That
1-0. Well, I didn't have that on my bingo card.
I mean, Corbin Burns threw a CG and he lost.
Yeah.
He gave up. He threw 9 innings. Oh, he didn't finish the night.
He got taken out, right?
8 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 3 Ks, L. It's like, that's tough.
Nah.
But, that's September or October baseball. It's October 1st. Yeah. Sloan is the world's leading manufacturer of commercial plumbing systems. The company is at the forefront of the green building movement and provides smart, sustainable, and hygienic restroom solutions by manufacturing water-efficient products, including flushometers, faucets, sink systems, soap dispensers, and fixtures for commercial, industrial, and institutional markets worldwide. To learn more, visit sloan.com.
Oh, no.
Need some screen times.
Oh, no. This says 2 minutes.
Mine says 0 minutes.
Oh, real convenient, you two.
Mine says I've used my phone for 24 seconds today, which I'll go ahead and confirm, not true.
Well, since I follow the rules and I have my screen time, the accurate screen time, it is 5 hours and 22 minutes. Not great. Could be worse. Not great.
I think by default, you're the winner, though.
Yeah, that's a W. Sorry, you guys cheated the system and you lost. That's how it goes sometimes. That's episode 227 of the Compound
Nice job,
Podcast.
host 2.0.
Ian will be back with Wi-Fi next week. We will go more over our playoff predictions, who we think will win it all. Obviously, the wild card will be over by then, so might be a little easier, might be cheating a little bit of an asterisk, but that's okay. I got Phillies, Yankees, not to jump the gun or anything. See you next week.